When Leicester City lifted the Premier League trophy in the 2015 to 2016 season, the entire football world watched them, praising them as a fairy tale of modern football. It was not only the victory of a small club, but also the triumph of belief, of the extraordinary in a football world often dictated by money and power. After the title, many believed Leicester would not stop there, but could continue to grow and become a major force in English football. Unexpectedly, that peak became the milestone, marking the beginning of a decade-long decline for the Foxes. If it were 10 years ago, who would have imagined a scenario where Leicester, from Premier League champions, would struggle in a survival battle, even facing the risk of dropping to lower divisions? No one. But the harsh reality has now struck Leicester, and it could turn into a disaster for them in just 5 more matches. Leicester reached the peak of the Premier League in a miraculous way, and what followed was a free fall. The turning point leading to the Foxes' decline was the sudden passing of Chairman Vichai. The financial backing from Thai investors decreased. The club sank into a spiral of crisis due to poor transfer strategies. They continuously sold their stars, and over each season, the squad quality deteriorated due to a lack of proper replacements. As a result, in the 2025-2026 season, Leicester performed disastrously in the Championship before facing further off-field turmoil. The Foxes have just been handed a 6-point deduction for violating financial regulations. From 17th place, they dropped to 22nd and officially fell into the relegation zone in the English Championship. After a decade, Leicester have gone from the pride of Premier League champions to facing the risk of dropping into League One, the third tier of English football. What is happening to them? No one can recognize the image of a Premier League champion anymore. The King Power Stadium side is getting worse due to a series of on-field issues. Even before the 6-point deduction, Leicester were already struggling in the relegation battle in the Championship. The first reason is that the former Premier League champions were unable to spend to strengthen their squad. According to Sky Sports, even without notable signings in the summer of 2025, Leicester's squad was not at a disastrous level. They still had Abdul Fatawu, Steffi Mavididi, and players with Premier League experience like Harry Winks and Oliver Skipp. The problem with Leicester is a team that has been disjointed since the very start of the 2025/2026 Championship season. Leicester's chairman, Ayawat Srivadanaprabha, made a rare appearance in the media and spoke about the club's situation. The Thai billionaire said, "The situation at the club has changed too much. It is not mainly due to the post-COVID crisis. What my father and I built in the past, the Premier League and FA Cup titles, have completely disappeared. I watch every Leicester match. I am very frustrated and have had private discussions with the coaching staff and the players." Sky Sports writer Evan Draycott frankly assessed that Leicester's problem lies in poor management from the top. A squad with a wage bill equivalent to a Premier League club is now playing in the Championship. At King Power Stadium, there is a slogan often chanted: "The Foxes never quit." However, the reality is that the Foxes have become mentally fragile, and their fighting spirit has gradually faded. From weak management at the top, Leicester have sunk into financial problems. Over the last 3 seasons, Leicester have lost more than £200 million, according to figures revealed by 442. Expanding to the last 5 years, the King Power side have lost up to £305 million.
The Foxes have exceeded the allowed threshold
under profit and sustainability rules and have paid the price with the latest punishment. This directly pushes them closer to the brink of crisis. Now the Foxes must fight in the remaining 5 matches of the championship in a mentally fragile state, with all their key players out of form. If Leicester are relegated, there will be many consequences for the club. Leicester are currently spending more than 100% of their revenue. They entered the 2025/2026 season, hoping to return to the Premier League quickly to stabilise finances. If the Foxes fall into the 3rd tier, the scenario they face is a continued decline in revenue. The gap between spending and income will widen, leading to a major overhaul of both the squad and the club's personnel. And then, Leicester could face collapse, like many other clubs that once played in the Premier League but suffered consecutive relegations and never recovered. Going back to 10 years ago, Leicester won the Premier League with a squad that had no superstars. Their most outstanding player at that time was Jamie Vardy, alongside emerging talents of English football such as Riyad Mahrez and N'Golo Kante. Leicester defeated everyone with pragmatic and deadly counter-attacking football. Discipline and unity created a one-of-a-kind collective in Premier League history. After the fairy tale title, Leicester's chairman at the time, Vichai Srivadhanaprabha, outlined a clear strategy to transform the club. The Foxes did not want to stop at a fairy tale title. They aimed to gradually grow and elevate their status in English football. After the fairy tale triumph, Chairman Vichai Srivadhanaprabha set out a clear strategy to realize the ambition of elevating Leicester City. They did not want to be a one-season wonder, but aimed to become a stable presence in the Premier League. Leicester chose a controlled development path, selling players at high prices, then reinvesting in young, promising talents suited to their system. In the early years after the title, this model worked almost perfectly. They accepted the departure of N'Golo Kante, but quickly brought in Wilfred Ndidi to fill the gap. When Riyad Mahrez left, Leicester already had replacements ready to maintain their attacking strength. Deals such as James Maddison and Yuri Tielemans showed that their scouting department was extremely effective. The Foxes did not buy stars, they created stars. And for a period, they truly became a model for mid-tier clubs to follow. But football does not stand still. When you constantly sell your best players, there will come a time when you are no longer lucky enough to find equally good replacements. Small errors began to appear in transfer windows. Leicester spent more money, but efficiency declined. New signings no longer delivered proportional value. The squad gradually lost its balance, and more importantly, they lost the identity that had brought them the 2016 title. The Foxes faced a major blow when Chairman Vichai Srivadhanaprabha passed away in a helicopter crash. Since his son, Ayawat, took over as chairman, Leicester began to lose their footing. Although Leicester won the FA Cup in the 2020-2021 season, throughout that period, since the historic milestone in 2016, the Foxes were completely lost in the Premier League. The tragedy for Leicester came in the 2022-2023 season. They were relegated from the Premier League, ending a cycle that lasted nearly a decade in the top flight of English football. This was not only a sporting failure, but also a huge financial shock. After leaving the Premier League, the King Power side lost their main source of revenue, while wages and operating costs remained high. From that point on, Leicester entered a cycle that many clubs have fallen into. They were forced to sell players to balance finances. Key players left, one after another, weakening the squad rapidly. But selling players could not fully solve the problem. as it also reduced the team's quality. Poor performances led to declining revenue, and the vicious cycle continued. A decade has passed since Leicester City reached the pinnacle of the Premier League, and the fairy tale has now turned into a tragedy of English football. From a symbol of overcoming adversity, the Foxes have lost themselves. They once won the Premier League in a way never seen before in English football history. And 10 years later, Leicester are facing a scenario that has also never happened before in England. A Premier League champion falling into League One after a decade. Leicester once played in the third tier of English football, 7 years before their transformation under the era of Chairman Vichai, rising to the Premier League and winning a title that shook the football world. And 10 years later, since the day the Foxes lifted the Premier League trophy, it is unbelievable that the third tier now lies behind them. Leicester have fallen due to accumulated missteps over the years, from transfers to management to finances. And when all these problems converge, the current downfall becomes inevitable. Leicester's brightest stars have gradually left them over the years of turmoil. The Foxes are in danger, but looking around, which player is capable of being their backbone at this moment? There is no one.